Canto Fifth. Over the utmost hill at length I sped, a snowy steep. The moon was hanging low over the Asian mountains, and outspread the plain, the city, and the camp below, skirted the midnight ocean's glimmering flow. The city's moonlit spires and myriad lamps, like stars in a sublunar sky, did glow, and fires blazed far amid the scattered camps, like springs of flame which burst where'er swift earthquake stamps. All slept but those in watchful arms who stood, and those who sate tending the beacon's light, and the few sounds from that vast multitude made silence more profound. Oh, what a might of human thought was cradled in that night! How many hearts impenetrably veiled beat underneath its shade! What secret fight, evil and good, in woven passions mailed, waged through that silent throng, a war that never failed. And now the power of good held victory, so through the labyrinth of many a tent, among the silent millions who did lie in innocent sleep, exultingly I went. The moon had left heaven desert now, but lent from eastern morn the first faint lustre showed an armed youth. Over his spear he bent his downward face. "A friend!" I cried aloud, and quickly common hopes made freemen understood. I sate beside him while the morning beam crept slowly over heaven, and talked with him of those immortal hopes, a glorious theme which led us forth, until the stars grew dim, and all the while methought his voice did swim, as if it drowned in remembrance were, of thoughts which make the moist eyes overbrim. At last, when daylight 'gan to fill the air, he looked on me and cried in wonder, "Thou art here!" Then suddenly I knew it was the youth in whom its earliest hopes my spirit found, but envious tongues had stained his spotless truth, and thoughtless pride his love in silence bound, and shame and sorrow mine in toils had wound, whilst he was innocent, and I deluded. The truth now came upon me. On the ground tears of repenting joy, which fast intruded, fell fast, and o'er its peace our mingling spirits brooded. Thus, while with rapid lips and earnest eyes we talked, a sound of sweeping conflict, spread as from the earth, did suddenly arise. From every tent, roused by that clamour dread, our bands outsprung and seized their arms. We sped towards the sound, our tribes were gathering far. Those sanguine slaves, amid 10,000 dead, stabbed in their sleep, trampled in treacherous war, the gentle hearts whose power their lives had sought to spare. Like rabid snakes that sting some gentle child who brings them food when winter false and fair allures them forth with its cold smiles, so wild they rage among the camp. They overbear the patriot hosts. Confusion, then despair, descends like night. When Laon one did cry, like a bright ghost from heaven, that shout did scare the slaves, and, widening through the vaulted sky, seemed sent from earth to heaven in sign of victory. In sudden panic those false murderers fled, like insect tribes before the northern gale, but swifter still our hosts encompassed their shattered ranks, and in a craggy vale, where even their fierce despair might not avail, hemmed them around. And then revenge and fear made the high virtue of the patriots fail. One pointed on his foe the mortal spear. I rushed before its point and cried, "Forbear, forbear!" The spear transfixed my arm that was uplifted in swift expostulation, and the blood gushed round its point. I smiled, and, "Oh, thou gifted with eloquence which shall not be withstood, flow thus," I cried in joy, "thou vital flood, until my heart be dry, ere thus the cause for which thou wert aught worthy be subdued. Ah, ye are pale, ye weep, your passions pause. 'Tis well, ye feel the truth of love's benignant laws. Soldiers, our brethren and our friends are slain. Ye murdered them, I think, as they did sleep. Alas, what have ye done? The slightest pain which ye might suffer, there were eyes to weep, but ye have quenched them. There were smiles to steep your hearts in balm, but they are lost in woe. And those whom love did set his watch to keep around your tents, truth's freedom to bestow, ye stabbed as they did sleep. But they forgive ye now. O wherefore should ill ever flow from ill, and pain still keener pain forever breed? We all are brethren, even the slaves who kill for hire are men, and to avenge misdeed on the misdoer doth but misery feed with her own broken heart. O earth, O heaven, and thou, dread nature, which to every deed and all that lives or is to be hath given, even as to thee have these done ill and are forgiven. Join then your hands and hearts, and let the past be as a grave which gives not up its dead to evil thoughts. A film then overcast my sense with dimness, for the wound which bled freshly swift shadows o'er mine eyes had shed. When I awoke, I lay mid friends and foes, and earnest countenances on me shed the light of questioning looks, whilst one did close my wound with balmiest herbs, and soothe me to repose. And one, whose spear had pierced me, leaned beside, with quivering lips and humid eyes, and all seemed like some brothers on a journey wide, gone forth, whom now strange meeting did befall, in a strange land round one whom they might call their friend, their chief, their father, for assay of peril, which had saved them from the thrall of death, now suffering. Thus the vast array of those fraternal bands were reconciled that day.